Have you ever found yourself haunted by the lingering emotions of someone who has long since walked out of your life, like the echoes of footsteps fading in an empty hallway? These feelings arise uninvited, stirring your heart with a mixture of memories and endless what-ifs. But why is it that we hold on to the past? What is it about love, or the illusion of it, that leaves such deep and enduring imprints on our souls? Buddhism and Zen philosophy provide us with profound insights into the nature of attachment, karma, and the human heart's extraordinary capacity to both love and suffer. In the quiet wisdom of a Zen proverb, we are told, "The heart is a pond. What you throw into it echoes and ripples long after the stone has sunk." This powerful analogy captures the essence of lingering emotions, comparing them to stones thrown into still waters. Our experiences create waves that continue to reverberate within us, even when the initial cause has disappeared beneath the surface. It seems that the heart has a memory all its own, one that cannot be easily silenced by logic or the passage of time. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is a double-edged sword. It brings immense joy, yes, but it also opens the door to suffering. When we tie our hearts to another, we form bonds that transcend the physical realm. These karmic connections aren't just a product of this lifetime. They could span across countless lifetimes, echoing through past experiences. They are the remnants of moments when our hearts opened, when we loved, hurt, and grew. But what does it mean when these feelings persist? Are they a sign of unfulfilled love, or is there something deeper at play? The wise do not seek to escape these emotions, but rather to understand their nature. They recognize that our feelings are not always what they seem. Sometimes, what we perceive as love for another is simply a reflection of our own unmet needs, unrealized potential, or fragmented sense of self. We project our desires, our longings, and our fears onto others, creating an idealized version of who they are, and then fall in love with that version. In reality, it's not the person we cannot forget, but the version of ourselves that flourished in their presence. This is the mirror of karma, a concept that suggests our connections with others are opportunities for profound self-discovery. When someone exits our life, the emptiness we feel is not just because of their absence, but because of the reflection they once provided. We mourn not only the person, but also the facets of ourselves that were illuminated in their company. Yet there is hope in understanding. Buddhism encourages us to observe our emotions without judgment, to sit with them in the stillness of our hearts, and ask ourselves, what is this emotion really about? Is it about the person, or is it about the lessons they helped us learn? Is it about the love we shared, or is it about the pain we need to heal? In this exploration, we will dive deeper into teachings that illuminate why feelings linger and how we can transform them from sources of suffering into powerful guides for growth. We will discover that letting go isn't about forgetting, but about integrating the past into our present wisdom. We will learn that detachment is not coldness, but a kind of freedom, a freedom to love without clinging, to remember without longing, and to walk forward with a heart that is open yet unburdened. So take a moment to breathe. Let the questions settle within you. As we embark on this journey together, remember that you are not alone in your feelings. They are a part of the human experience, a testament to your capacity to love deeply and with understanding. These feelings can become stepping stones on your path to inner peace and liberation. The nature of lingering feelings. The heart's memory. Have you ever found yourself in a quiet, reflective moment, perhaps while sipping tea or watching a sunset, when suddenly someone from your past flashes vividly across your mind. Along with that image comes a rush of emotions, warmth, longing, sadness, even confusion. Why does this happen? Why do we hold on to certain people long after they've left our lives? The answer lies in understanding the heart's unique memory. Buddhism teaches us that our hearts and minds are not just repositories of fleeting thoughts and emotions. They are deeply influenced by our experiences, both from this life and potentially from past lifetimes. Unlike intellectual memory, the heart's memory doesn't just recall facts or events. It retains the essence of emotional experiences. When we form a significant emotional connection with someone, whether it's romantic, platonic, or even adversarial, it leaves an indelible mark on our heart. This imprint is not easily erased and can be triggered by the smallest of things, a familiar scent, a melody, or a fleeting resemblance in a stranger's smile. The persistence of feelings. Ripples in a pond. Have you ever noticed how certain emotions can persist long after the events that triggered them? Imagine throwing a stone into a calm pond. The ripples spread outward, continuing long after the stone has sunk to the bottom. Similarly, significant emotional experiences create ripples in our hearts that can linger, subtly shaping our emotional landscape long after the initial event has passed. These ripples, echoing through our inner world, remind us of the depth of the connections we once shared. Attachment, the root of suffering. Central to Buddhist teachings is the idea of attachment as a primary source of suffering. When we attach ourselves to someone, we form a bond that ties our emotional well-being to their presence in our lives. While attachment can bring joy when things are going well, it also opens the door to profound suffering when circumstances change. The deeper our attachment, the more painful the inevitable changes can be. Attachment arises from our fundamental desire for love, security, and companionship. We cling to people because they make us feel validated, loved, and complete. Yet Buddhism teaches that true happiness cannot come from external sources, because these sources, people, circumstances, relationships, are impermanent. When we tie our happiness to someone or something external, we set ourselves up for disappointment when those things change or disappear. The attached mind is like a clenched fist, holding tightly to what it desires. When the object of attachment slips away, the fist remains closed, causing internal pain. The Buddha taught that the path to freedom from suffering is to open the fist, to let go of attachments, and to find contentment within ourselves. Karma and the threads of connection. Karma, often misunderstood as a system of punishment and reward, plays a significant role in our emotional lives. At its core, karma refers to the idea that our actions, thoughts, and intentions create imprints on our consciousness, influencing our future experiences. In relationships, karma can be seen as the threads that connect us to others. These threads are woven from shared experiences, interactions, and the emotional energy exchanged between individuals. Some karmic threads are strong, creating bonds that transcend a single lifetime. When we feel a deep, inexplicable connection to someone, it may be the result of karmic resonance, a recognition of a bond that has existed across many lifetimes. When feelings persist long after a relationship has ended, it could indicate unresolved karmic lessons or energies between you and that person. However, karma is not fate. It is not a predetermined script we're powerless to change. It's a dynamic force that can be influenced by our current actions and awareness. By understanding the karmic nature of our connections, we can approach lingering feelings with curiosity and a willingness to learn, rather than a sense of helplessness. The echoes of unresolved emotions. Unresolved emotions also play a key role in why certain feelings persist. When we experience significant emotional events, whether positive or negative, and fail to fully process them, they leave residual energy within us. These unresolved emotions can manifest as lingering feelings, intrusive thoughts, or even physical sensations. Psychologically, this is known as unfinished business. When a relationship ends abruptly, or when conflicts remain unresolved, the mind continues to ruminate on the situation in an attempt to find closure. This rumination keeps the emotional wound open, preventing healing. Buddhism offers a powerful approach to dealing with unresolved emotions through mindfulness and meditation. By bringing mindful awareness to our feelings, we can observe them without judgment. This allows them to surface, be acknowledged, and naturally release. The process of emotional liberation involves creating mental space where we can understand the root causes of our feelings and gradually release their hold on us. The illusion of the other, loving the reflection. One of the most profound insights Buddhism offers regarding lingering feelings is the idea that, often, we are not truly in love with the person themselves, but with the reflection they provided of us. Relationships act as mirrors, reflecting back aspects of our own identity, desires, and potential. When someone plays a significant role in our lives, they help shape our sense of self by reflecting qualities we may not see in ourselves otherwise. A deeply loving partner might help us recognize our own worth, while a free-spirited friend might awaken our desire for adventure. When this person is no longer part of our lives, we may grieve not just their absence, but the version of ourselves that they helped bring to the surface. The famous Zen story of the monk who helped a heartbroken traveler offers a beautiful insight. When the traveler said, "She completed me," the monk replied, "Then you gave away too much." This teaches us that when we place our sense of completeness or identity in another person, we make ourselves vulnerable to profound suffering when they are no longer present. The journey to understanding and liberation. So what can we do when faced with these lingering feelings? The path to liberation begins with understanding. By examining our emotions with curiosity, without judgment, we can begin to unravel the threads of attachment, karma, and emotional residue that bind us. The first step is to cultivate self-awareness. Practices like meditation and journaling can help us observe our emotions as they arise, identify their triggers, and understand the stories we tell ourselves about them. We can ask ourselves powerful questions. What need did this relationship fulfill for me? What part of myself did I see reflected in this person? What lessons has this connection taught me? Through this process, we begin to understand that our feelings are not static. They are the result of complex interplays of attachment, past experiences, and emotional energy. The more we learn to understand these layers, the more we unlock the potential for emotional freedom and peace. Embracing non-attachment. The freedom of loving. Without clinging to move forward in life, we must practice non-attachment, not as emotional detachment, but as a way of freeing ourselves from the grip of our desires and fears. This doesn't mean we stop caring or loving. Instead, it means we learn to love without clinging, to be fully present with others without needing them to complete us. True freedom lies not in shutting ourselves off from the world, but in cultivating the ability to love deeply while letting go of the need for possession or control. By practicing non-attachment, we free ourselves to experience love without the burden of expectation, allowing us to engage in relationships with openness and ease, embracing impermanence, the beauty of letting go. Finally, we must embrace the impermanence of all things. Relationships, like all phenomena, are transient. They grow, evolve, and ultimately end. By accepting this truth, we can learn to appreciate each moment as it is, without grasping or holding on. We can allow love to flow freely, without the suffering that comes from desperately trying to preserve what is inevitably changing. When we embrace the impermanence of life, we shift our focus from clinging to the past or fearing the future, to appreciating the present moment for what it offers. This shift allows us to love deeply, without fear of loss, and to appreciate the beauty in the temporary nature of every experience. The illusion of the other, loving the reflection in relationships. Relationships are powerful mirrors. They reflect back to us aspects of our identity, desires, and potential that we might otherwise overlook. When we form a deep connection with someone, they become a lens through which we see ourselves in new and often surprising ways. A partner who is deeply empathetic may help us recognize our own capacity for compassion, while a free-spirited friend might awaken our dormant desire for adventure and spontaneity. These reflections can be so compelling that we begin to associate our sense of self-worth with the presence of the other person. However, the mirror effect is not always flattering. Relationships also reflect our shadows, those parts of ourselves that we struggle with or try to hide. For example, a critical partner may reveal our own insecurities, while a friend who is constantly late might trigger our unresolved anger and impatience. Through relationships, we receive a complete reflection of both our light and our darkness. And yet, when a relationship ends, the mirror is taken away, and with it, the reflection of the self that we had come to identify with. This loss can be disorienting and painful, as we may feel as though part of us has been erased. We long not only for the person, but also for the version of ourselves that existed in their presence. Identity fusion. When I becomes we. A profound aspect of the mirroring effect is identity fusion, when our sense of self becomes so intertwined with another person that it's hard to distinguish where we end and they begin. In healthy relationships, a degree of identity fusion can be beneficial, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. But when taken to an extreme, it can lead to an unhealthy dependence on the other person for emotional stability and self-worth. Consider the traveler who confided in the monk, saying, "She completed me." This statement reveals deep identity fusion. The traveler had placed a significant part of his sense of wholeness in the hands of his partner. When she left, it wasn't just the loss of a loved one, it was the loss of a crucial part of his identity. This is a common experience when we form deep attachments. We often come to rely on another person to validate us emotionally, to provide purpose or fulfillment, things we struggle to generate on our own. The problem with identity fusion is that it makes us vulnerable. When our self-worth is tied to someone else, the loss of that person feels like the loss of ourselves. To heal from this kind of loss, we must embark on a journey of self-realization. We must rediscover the parts of ourselves that we projected onto the other person and learn to hold them independently. The desire for what could have been, the power of unfulfilled potential. One of the most potent drivers of lingering feelings is the desire for what could have been, the longing for unfulfilled potential. When a relationship ends before it reaches its natural conclusion, or when aspects of it remain unexplored, our minds tend to fixate on the possibilities that never materialized. We imagine the conversations we never had, the experiences we never shared, and the future that might have been. This fixation on the what-ifs can be incredibly compelling and difficult to release. We may idealize the potential of the relationship, believing that if only circumstances had been different, things would have turned out better. We might convince ourselves that it was meant to be, that it was special in a way no other connection could ever be. But this idealization overlooks an important truth. All relationships are imperfect and transient. Even if the relationship had continued, it would have faced challenges and changes. The future we imagine is always shaped by our present desires, and it's essential to let go of the idea that things could have been different. By embracing the reality of imperfection, we free ourselves from the grip of unfulfilled potential and move toward acceptance. In these next sections, we will explore practical steps and insights to help transform lingering feelings into opportunities for growth and liberation. Through understanding the nature of our hearts and minds, we can free ourselves from emotional suffering, moving from being prisoners of our emotions to becoming their masters. In doing so, we will walk the path of love and freedom with grace, wisdom, and compassion. The desire for what could have been, a resistance to the present moment. The desire for what could have been is a powerful force, but it's also a form of resistance to the present moment. When we cling to the past, yearning for its unrealized potential, we deny ourselves the opportunity to fully embrace the present and create new possibilities for the future. It's as if we imprison ourselves in a loop of regret and longing, rather than moving forward with openness, curiosity, and an eager heart. True freedom comes when we stop resisting what is and instead engage with life as it unfolds, accepting each moment for what it is. Let go of the what-ifs and start living fully in the now. By doing so, we allow ourselves to grow and transform, creating space for new experiences and deeper connections. The wound that seeks healing, unhealed emotional pain. Lingering feelings often signal the presence of an emotional wound that requires our attention. In Buddhist psychology, unhealed wounds can create recurring patterns of suffering that resurface throughout our lives. These wounds may stem from past relationships, childhood experiences, or even past lifetimes, according to some interpretations of karma. When we experience emotional pain, such as the loss of a loved one or the betrayal of a close friend, our hearts can become wounded in a way that impacts our future relationships and emotional experiences. If these wounds are not acknowledged and healed, they continue to influence our feelings and behaviors, often drawing us back into situations and relationships that resemble the original source of pain. This is why some people may find themselves repeatedly attracted to partners who mirror their unhealed wounds. For example, one might be drawn to someone who is emotionally distant, reminiscent of a parent who was not emotionally available. This unconscious pattern is an attempt to heal the old wound, yet without conscious awareness and healing, it can lead to cycles of unfulfilled longing and suffering. The path to healing, self-discovery, and emotional liberation. To move beyond the illusion of loving the reflection and to heal from the wounds that drive our lingering feelings, we must embark on a journey of self-discovery and inner work. This journey requires intentional practices and a deep understanding of our emotional patterns. Cultivating self-awareness. The first step in healing is cultivating self-awareness. Practices like meditation, journaling, and self-reflection allow us to observe our emotions without judgment. We begin to identify the underlying patterns and stories that shape our feelings. Ask yourself questions like, what parts of myself did I see reflected in this person? How did this relationship influence my sense of self? What emotional wounds are influencing my feelings? Reclaiming your identity. Once you identify the aspects of yourself that became fused with another person, you can begin the process of reclaiming them. Recognize that the qualities you admired in the other person are also within you. Cultivate those qualities independently through practices like affirmations, acts of self-compassion, and stepping outside your comfort zone. For example, if you admired your partner's creativity and found that you became more creative in their presence, continue nurturing that creative side by engaging in activities that inspire you, setting aside time for artistic expression, and surrounding yourself with inspiring environments. Releasing idealization. To release the grip of idealization, ground yourself in the reality of the relationship. Acknowledge both the positive and negative aspects. Understand that every relationship is a complex interplay of many factors, and no relationship is perfect. By holding a balanced view of the past, you can diminish the power of the idealized narrative that keeps you trapped in longing. Try writing a balanced letter to yourself about the relationship. List both what you loved and what was challenging. This exercise can help you create a more nuanced and realistic perspective. Healing emotional wounds. Healing emotional wounds requires compassion and patience. Begin by acknowledging the pain and giving yourself permission to feel it without judgment. Remember, emotional wounds are a natural part of the human experience, and healing is a process. Engaging in practices like mindfulness, meditation, therapy, or counseling, and self-compassion exercises can be incredibly helpful. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend during times of difficulty. Embracing impermanence, a key to emotional freedom. Finally, embrace the Buddhist concept of impermanence. All things change, including relationships. By accepting the transient nature of life, you can learn to appreciate each moment for what it is, without clinging to it. This doesn't mean you don't value your relationships. It means you hold them with an open hand, allowing them to evolve naturally. Remember the story of the monk who observed the falling leaf. Each time the leaf fell, it was a reminder that healing requires revisiting and releasing emotional patterns multiple times. As you acknowledge and release emotional residue, you move closer to emotional freedom. With each layer of pain you let go of, you open yourself to new possibilities. Moving forward, creating space for new possibilities, understanding that our feelings for others are often intertwined with our own self-perception, and emotional history offers us a powerful insight. It allows us to approach lingering emotions with compassion and curiosity, rather than judgment and resistance. By recognizing the mirroring effect of relationships, addressing identity fusion, releasing idealization, healing emotional wounds, and embracing impermanence, we can transform our relationship with the past and create space for new possibilities in the present. In the following sections, we will explore practical methods for working with these insights, offering guidance on how to integrate them into your daily life. By practicing mindful awareness and showing loving kindness toward yourself and others, you can navigate the complex landscape of the heart with grace, wisdom, and emotional freedom. Emotional residue. Echoes of the past. Emotional residue refers to the lingering imprints of past experiences, leaving echoes that continue to shape our present emotional landscape. These residues can be subtle or profound, and understanding them is a key step in our emotional healing journey. Emotional residue. The lingering imprints of the past. Emotional residue isn't just a collection of memories. It's the lingering, powerful echoes of unresolved emotions, unmet expectations, and unprocessed pain. These residues can significantly influence our present emotional state, often without us even realizing it. Consider how a pot used to cook a fragrant dish still retains its smell even after being washed. Similarly, our hearts can retain the emotional imprints of significant relationships long after they've ended. These emotional residues often operate beneath the surface of our conscious awareness, subtly shaping how we perceive, react, and feel. In Buddhist philosophy, this concept aligns with the idea of kleshas, or mental afflictions, emotions like attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy. When left unaddressed, these kleshas linger in our minds and hearts, creating patterns of emotional reactivity and suffering. The Buddhist perspective on emotional residue. Buddhism provides a profound framework for understanding emotional residue. Through teachings on karma, impermanence, and the nature of the mind, we gain insight into how these residues form and how they influence our lives. Emotional residue is seen as a natural part of the human experience, but one that can cause suffering when not properly processed. Karma and emotional imprints. Karma, the law of cause and effect, teaches us that every action, thought, and intention creates an imprint on our consciousness that can influence future experiences. Emotional residue can be viewed as a karmic imprint left by past relational experiences. These imprints are not set in stone. They can be transformed through mindful awareness and conscious action. For instance, if you've been hurt by a partner's betrayal in the past, you might carry that emotional residue into future relationships. Even when the circumstances are different, you may react with fear or distrust, triggered by the unresolved emotions from the past. By becoming aware of these patterns, we can break free from their grip and transform our reactions. Impermanence and letting go. The Buddhist teaching of anicca, impermanence, reminds us that all things, including our emotions, are transient and constantly changing. Emotional residue often arises from our resistance to this impermanent nature of life. We cling to the past because it feels familiar, even when it causes us suffering. By embracing impermanence, we begin to see emotional residue not as a permanent part of us, but as passing clouds in the sky of our awareness. This perspective allows us to hold our emotions with more spaciousness and less attachment, creating room for healing and transformation. The impact of emotional residue on our lives. Emotional residue can deeply affect our emotional well-being, our relationships, and our overall quality of life. When left unchecked, it can lead to recurring patterns of suffering. Repetition of emotional patterns. One of the most common effects of emotional residue is the repetition of emotional patterns. For example, if you carry unresolved feelings of abandonment from a past relationship, you might unconsciously recreate similar emotional dynamics in future relationships. This isn't because you want to suffer, but because the emotional residue drives you to seek resolution, often in unhealthy ways. Recognizing these patterns and understanding their root causes is the first step in interrupting them. By developing awareness, we can make conscious choices to respond differently and break free from these repeating cycles. Distorted perception. Emotional residue can also distort our perception of current situations and people. Past hurts can color the way we see others, causing us to project our unresolved feelings onto them. For example, if a former partner was emotionally distant, you might interpret a new partner's quietness as disinterest, even when it's not. This distorted perception can create unnecessary tension and misunderstanding. By becoming aware of your emotional residue and its influence on your perceptions, you can cultivate a more balanced and realistic view of the people in your life, allowing for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Blocking new experiences, emotional residue can also block us from fully experiencing new relationships and opportunities for growth. When we are preoccupied with the past, we may become emotionally unavailable in the present, afraid of being hurt again. This emotional unavailability prevents us from forming deep, meaningful connections and can limit our capacity for joy and fulfillment in the here and now. Healing emotional residue is essential to creating space for new experiences and relationships. It allows us to open ourselves fully to the present moment and move forward with confidence and emotional freedom. Healing emotional residue. A compassionate approach. Healing emotional residue requires a compassionate and patient approach. It involves understanding the nature of these residues and engaging in practices that help transform and release them. Mindfulness and awareness. The foundation of healing emotional residue is mindfulness. By cultivating a consistent mindfulness practice, we can begin to observe our emotions and reactions without judgment. This practice of mindful awareness helps us identify the subtle traces of emotional residue that influence our thoughts and feelings. By developing mindfulness, we create a space between our emotional triggers and our responses, giving us the opportunity to choose how to act rather than reacting unconsciously. Mindful awareness, creating space between stimulus and response. One of the most powerful tools for healing emotional residue is developing the ability to observe your emotions without immediately reacting to them. This creates a space between the stimulus and your response, allowing you to choose how to engage with your emotions rather than simply reacting. A simple yet effective practice is incorporating daily meditation into your routine. Even if it's just for a few minutes, sit quietly and focus on your breath. When emotions arise, acknowledge them without judgment, and then gently return your focus to your breath. Over time, this practice helps cultivate greater emotional awareness and resilience, creating the space necessary to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Journaling for clarity, gaining insight into emotional residue. Journaling is another powerful tool for working with emotional residue. By writing about your feelings and experiences, you can bring them into conscious awareness, which allows you to gain clarity about their roots and patterns. Set aside time each day to write freely about your emotions. Ask yourself questions like, what am I feeling today? Where do I sense this emotion in my body? Does this feeling remind me of any past experiences? What do I need to feel safe and supported in processing this emotion? Journaling not only helps you understand your emotional landscape, but also encourages deeper self-reflection and healing. Rituals of release, symbolizing letting go. Creating personal rituals can be a meaningful way to symbolically release emotional residue. These rituals don't need to be elaborate. The key is to engage in an intentional act that represents letting go. Some examples of release rituals include writing a letter to the person or situation that represents your emotional residue and then burning it as a symbol of release. Creating a small altar with items that represent your healing journey, spending time in contemplation or prayer, going to a natural body of water and releasing a biodegradable object, like a leaf or a piece of paper, while visualizing your emotions flowing away with the current. Rituals help anchor your intention to release and move forward, providing a powerful emotional release that supports healing. The practice of forgiveness, releasing the burden of resentment. Forgiveness is a profound practice that can help heal emotional residue. It's important to understand that forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior, but about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of holding on to resentment and pain. Forgiveness begins with self-compassion. Acknowledge the pain you've experienced and honor your journey. Then when you feel ready, extend forgiveness to those involved in the situation. This doesn't mean reconciling with them or excusing their actions, but it does mean releasing the hold their actions have on your emotional well-being. You can start by writing a forgiveness letter, either to yourself or to the other person. In this letter, express your feelings and your intention to release the emotional residue tied to that situation. You don't need to send the letter. The act of writing it can be enough to initiate healing. Seeking support. Healing together. Healing emotional residue is often easier when supported by others. Consider connecting with a therapist, counselor, or support group where you can share your experiences and receive guidance. Having a supportive community provides perspective, encouragement, and practical tools for navigating difficult emotions. The support of others can make a significant difference, offering emotional validation and helping you stay grounded during your healing process. Patience and self-compassion, a gentle path toward healing. Approach the process of healing emotional residue with patience and self-compassion. Understand that healing is not linear and that it will take time. Be kind to yourself when emotions resurface or when you experience setbacks. Treat yourself with the same care and understanding you would offer a dear friend in times of difficulty. Healing often involves revisiting and releasing emotional patterns multiple times. Each time you engage with your emotions with compassion and awareness, you move closer to emotional freedom and peace. Integration, moving forward with healing. As you work through your emotional residue, remember that the goal isn't to erase the past or numb your emotions. The goal is to integrate those experiences into your present awareness in a way that no longer causes suffering. By understanding the nature of emotional residue and engaging in healing practices, you can transform these emotional imprints into guides for personal growth. As you walk this path of healing, you will create more space for new, positive experiences and relationships to emerge in your life. In the following sections, we will continue to explore Buddhist teachings on attachment, karma, and emotional healing, offering further insights and practices for moving forward with greater freedom and emotional well-being. Through mindful awareness, compassionate self-care, and a willingness to engage with your emotions, you can walk the path toward inner peace and liberation. Emotional recurrence, a spiritual signal for self-discovery. In our journey through life, we often find ourselves revisiting certain emotions and memories tied to past relationships. These recurring feelings, what we can call emotional recurrence, can be seen as gentle reminders from our subconscious mind, urging us to pay attention to unresolved aspects of our emotional landscape. Emotional recurrence is not a random phenomenon. Instead, it serves as a meaningful signal that can guide us toward deeper self-awareness and spiritual growth. From a Buddhist perspective, emotional recurrence is viewed as an opportunity for self-reflection and healing. It is an invitation to look within and identify the lessons that our hearts are trying to convey. When feelings for someone keep resurfacing, it's often not about the person themselves, but about the deeper emotional patterns and karmic imprints that they've stirred within us. Emotional recurrence as a spiritual signal. Emotional recurrence can be seen as a spiritual signal pointing us toward areas of our inner world that need attention and healing. In Buddhism, it is believed that our emotional experiences are deeply interconnected with our spiritual journey. These recurring emotions are an invitation to explore unresolved feelings, break free from old patterns, and cultivate awareness around emotional residues that no longer serve us. By embracing emotional recurrence as a signal, we can approach our emotions with curiosity and a readiness to understand, which ultimately leads to greater healing and spiritual growth. Emotional recurrence, messengers of self-discovery. When emotions resurface repeatedly, they act as messengers, guiding us to parts of ourselves that need attention, acknowledgement, and transformation. This concept aligns with the Buddhist teaching of dependent origination, which states that all phenomena arise in dependence on specific causes and conditions. Emotional recurrence is seen as the result of particular causes and conditions within our psyche and karmic history. By understanding these causes, we can begin to unravel the deeper significance of our recurring emotions. The lessons of emotional recurrence. Emotional recurrence often happens because there are lessons we have yet to learn. These lessons may relate to aspects of ourselves that we have overlooked, misunderstood, or not fully integrated. By paying attention to the patterns of our emotional recurrence, we can uncover the key lessons our hearts are trying to teach us. The lesson of unfinished business. One common lesson linked to emotional recurrence is the presence of unfinished business. This may manifest as unresolved conflicts, unexpressed feelings, or missed opportunities for connection. When we leave emotional matters unresolved, they can linger in our subconscious, creating a sense of incompleteness that resurfaces as recurring feelings. For example, if you had an argument with a loved one before they left your life and never had the chance to resolve it, the emotions from that conflict may keep resurfacing. Your heart may be seeking closure, an opportunity to express what was left unsaid, or simply a moment of peace to acknowledge and release the tension. The lesson of self-compassion. Another essential lesson that emotional recurrence offers is self-compassion. Often when we experience recurring feelings of sadness or longing, we can be harsh on ourselves, asking, "Why can't I just move on?" This self-criticism only deepens the emotional pain and creates a barrier to healing. Emotional recurrence invites us to approach ourselves with kindness and understanding. It reminds us that it's okay to feel, and that healing is a process that takes time. By cultivating self-compassion, we create an inner environment where our emotions can be acknowledged and processed without judgment. The lesson of boundaries. Emotional recurrence can also highlight the need for healthier boundaries. If you find yourself repeatedly drawn to someone who has caused you emotional harm, it may be a sign that clearer boundaries need to be set, both within yourself and in your relationships. Boundaries are not about creating walls, but about creating healthy space where you can nurture your emotional growth. Learning to set boundaries helps you honor your needs and paves the way for more balanced and fulfilling relationships. Working with emotional recurrence. Practices for self-discovery. To engage with emotional recurrence as a spiritual signal for self-discovery, we can employ several practices that help us uncover the lessons and wisdom embedded within our emotions. Mindful inquiry. Mindful inquiry involves asking ourselves thoughtful questions while remaining aware of our emotional responses. When you experience emotional recurrence, take a moment to sit quietly and ask questions like, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Is there something I need to acknowledge or release related to this feeling? How does this emotion reflect my deeper needs and desires? As you ask these questions, pay attention to the sensations in your body and the thoughts that arise. There's no need to force an answer. Simply allow your awareness to settle on the experience and observe what emerges. Journaling as a tool for self-reflection. Journaling complements mindful inquiry beautifully. After reflecting mindfully, take some time to write down your thoughts and feelings. Writing helps you clarify your insights and create a record of your emotional journey. Consider creating a dedicated journal for emotional recurrence, dating each entry and writing freely about your experiences. Over time, you may notice patterns and themes emerging, which can provide valuable insights into the lessons your emotions are trying to convey. Rituals of acknowledgement. Creating rituals to honor your emotions can be a meaningful way to engage with them in a respectful and mindful manner. These rituals don't need to be complex, but they should be intentional. For example, you could light a candle at the beginning of your journaling practice, symbolizing the illumination of the hidden corners of your heart. Alternatively, you might visit a natural landmark, like a tree or a body of water, and offer a small token representing the emotion you are working with, visualizing its release into the natural world. These small acts can help you connect with the emotion, recognize its significance, and gently let go. Seeking guidance. Through meditation, meditation offers a powerful way to connect with the wisdom of your emotions. Consider incorporating a meditation practice that focuses on emotional healing and self-discovery. Here are a few types of meditation that can be especially helpful for working with emotional recurrence. Loving kindness meditation, metta. This meditation cultivates compassion and love toward yourself and others, helping to transform feelings of resentment or sorrow into goodwill and understanding. Body scan meditation. This practice involves bringing awareness to different parts of your body, noticing sensations without judgment. It can help you become more aware of the physical manifestations of your emotions and create space for their release. Insight meditation, vipassana. This form of meditation focuses on developing clear understanding of your experiences. It can help you gain insights into the roots and patterns of your emotional recurrence. Engaging with a spiritual community. Being part of a spiritual community can provide valuable support and guidance as you work with emotional recurrence. A community that shares similar values and practices can offer new perspectives and remind you that you are not alone in your journey. Consider attending meditation groups, spiritual workshops, or discussion circles focused on Buddhist teachings. These gatherings can help you feel more connected and provide fresh insights as you navigate the emotional landscape of your journey. From suffering to liberation, the path of non-attachment. The concept of non-attachment is a cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy and practice. While it is often misunderstood as emotional detachment or indifference, it is actually a profound practice of freeing ourselves from the grip of desires, fears, and possessiveness. Non-attachment invites us to engage with life fully, to love passionately, but also to hold our experiences with an open hand, allowing them to come and go without clinging. In the context of relationships and lingering feelings, non-attachment offers a pathway to liberation from the suffering that arises from our attachment to others. This doesn't mean that we stop caring or loving. Rather, it means learning to love without clinging, to be present with others without needing them to fulfill our emotional needs, and to release our expectations about how relationships should unfold. Understanding non-attachment in Buddhism. To understand non-attachment, we first need to grasp the Buddhist teachings on desire and clinging as sources of suffering. According to the first noble truth, life is characterized by suffering, dukkha. The second noble truth identifies the cause of suffering as craving or attachment, tanha. This craving can take many forms, including the desire for sensory pleasures, the longing for existence, or attachment to views and opinions. Non-attachment, therefore, is the practice of releasing this craving and learning to find contentment in the present moment, just as it is. It's about recognizing that our happiness does not depend on external circumstances or people, but arises from within us. Non-attachment versus indifference. It's crucial to distinguish non-attachment from indifference. Indifference implies a lack of care or concern, often resulting from emotional numbness or disengagement. Non-attachment, on the other hand, is rooted in compassion and presence. It allows us to engage deeply with others while maintaining a mental and emotional spaciousness that prevents suffering. When we practice non-attachment in relationships, we can love others freely without the anxiety of losing them or demanding that they meet all our emotional needs. We can appreciate the beauty of each moment shared with them without trying to possess or control them. The practice of non-attachment in daily life. Practicing non-attachment is not about achieving a perfect state of detachment from all desires and emotions. It's about developing a healthier relationship with them. It involves recognizing our attachments as they arise and gently releasing them rather than being controlled by them. Mindfulness of attachment. The first step in practicing non-attachment is becoming mindful of our attachments. This requires developing a consistent mindfulness practice where we observe our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with non-judgmental awareness. By paying attention to when and how our attachments arise, we can begin to understand their nature and impact on our lives. For example, you might notice anxiety when your partner doesn't respond to your messages immediately. This anxiety can be a sign of attachment to their attention and reassurance. By acknowledging this attachment, you can begin to explore its roots and work on releasing it. Cultivating contentment. Contentment is a key quality to nurture in the practice of non-attachment. Contentment doesn't mean complacency or a lack of ambition, but rather a sense of satisfaction with what you have in the present moment. It's the ability to find happiness in simplicity and appreciate the beauty of everyday experiences. One way to cultivate contentment is through the practice of gratitude. Take time each day to reflect on the things you are grateful for, whether they are significant or small. This shifts your focus from what is lacking in your life to what is already present and valuable. Releasing expectations. Expectations are often a major source of suffering in relationships. When we have rigid expectations about how others should behave or how relationships should progress, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Non-attachment invites us to release these expectations and approach relationships with openness and curiosity. This doesn't mean that we should have no preferences or desires in relationships. It simply means holding those preferences lightly and being willing to adapt to the reality of the situation. For example, you may prefer to spend a certain amount of time with your partner, but when circumstances make that impossible, non-attachment helps you respond with flexibility and understanding instead of frustration or resentment. Embracing impermanence. Embracing impermanence is a fundamental aspect of non-attachment. All relationships, like all phenomena, are transient. By accepting this reality, we can learn to appreciate each moment of connection without trying to hold on to it forever. Reflect on the natural cycles of life, the changing of seasons, the rising and setting of the sun, the growth and withering of plants. These cycles remind us that change is an inherent part of existence. Relationships, too, have their seasons. By embracing this truth, we can find peace in the knowledge that while relationships may change or end, the love and growth they provided can continue to influence our lives in meaningful ways. Non-attachment and loving kindness. Non-attachment is deeply connected to the practice of loving kindness, metta. Loving kindness is the cultivation of a heartfelt desire for the happiness and well-being of all beings, including ourselves. When we practice non-attachment, we create space for loving kindness to flourish. Because we are no longer preoccupied with our own needs and desires, we are free to extend genuine care and compassion to others. Non-attachment enables us to love without clinging, to give without expecting in return, and to offer our kindness freely without the burden of attachment. Loving kindness and non-attachment, building a foundation for freedom. You can cultivate loving kindness through meditation practices, where you silently repeat phrases like, "May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you live with ease." Start by directing these phrases toward yourself, and then gradually extend them to loved ones, acquaintances, and even those you find challenging in relationships. Loving kindness manifests as a genuine care for the other person's well-being, without any expectation of receiving anything in return. It is the willingness to support and uplift others, even when it does not serve our self-interests. Practicing loving kindness helps release attachment by allowing us to love others freely, without clinging or demanding anything in return. The freedom of non-attachment. The ultimate goal of practicing non-attachment is freedom. Freedom from the suffering caused by our attachments, freedom to be fully present in each moment, and freedom to love and connect with others without the constraints of fear and desire. When we let go of our attachments, we discover a profound sense of inner peace and contentment that isn't dependent on external circumstances. This inner peace makes us more resilient to life's inevitable changes and better able to navigate the challenges of relationships with grace and wisdom. Practical exercises for practicing non-attachment. To deepen your understanding and experience of non-attachment, consider engaging in the following exercises. The Detachment Journal. Create a journal where you can regularly reflect on your experiences of attachment and non-attachment. Each day, write about a situation where you felt attached to an outcome or a person. Describe the nature of the attachment and how it affected your emotions and behavior. Then, reflect on how you might approach the situation with greater non-attachment. Mindful relationship check-ins. Set aside time each week to do a mindful check-in on your relationships. Reflect on how you've been showing up in your relationships. Have you been clinging to certain expectations? Have you been present and engaged, or preoccupied with worries about the future or regrets about the past? Use this reflection to identify areas where you can practice greater non-attachment and presence. The practice of letting go. Choose a small item that you have an emotional attachment to, but that is not essential to your well-being. It could be a piece of clothing, a decorative object, or a keepsake. Spend time reflecting on your attachment to this item, and then decide to let it go, whether by donating it, gifting it to someone else, or simply placing it in a different part of your home. Notice how it feels to release this attachment and what insights emerge from the experience. Loving kindness. Meditation. Incorporate a regular loving-kindness meditation practice into your routine. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably and undisturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to center yourself. Then, silently repeat phrases of loving kindness, first directing them toward yourself and then extending them to others in your life. Visualize each person receiving the love and blessings you are sending. Integration and moving forward. The lifelong journey of non-attachment. Practicing non-attachment is a lifelong journey that requires patience, self-compassion, and continuous learning. It's not about achieving perfection, but about making progress in how we relate to our emotions, thoughts, and relationships. As you continue on this path, remember that non-attachment is not a destination, but a way of traveling. It's about bringing mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom to each moment of your life, and learning to navigate the complex landscape of human emotions with grace and freedom. By embracing non-attachment and integrating it into your daily life, you can transform your relationship with others and yourself, creating space for love, joy, and freedom to flourish. Transforming pain into wisdom, the alchemy of suffering. In the rich tapestry of Buddhist teachings, suffering is not viewed as an end point, but as a profound catalyst for transformation. It is through the alchemy of suffering that we can transmute pain into wisdom, loss into understanding, and heartache into compassion. This process of transformation is not merely about enduring hardship, but about engaging with it mindfully, extracting its lessons and allowing it to reshape us into more awake and conscious beings. The idea that suffering can be a gift may seem counterintuitive, even harsh, to those immersed in pain. However, Buddhism teaches that it is our resistance to suffering that often amplifies its sting. By turning toward our pain with curiosity and compassion, rather than fleeing from it, we can discover its hidden gifts and integrate its lessons into our lives. The karmic gift. Pain as a lesson for growth from a karmic perspective. The connections that bring us pain are not random occurrences, but meaningful encounters that offer us specific lessons. These karmic gifts are woven into the fabric of our lives with purpose, to awaken us to aspects of ourselves that need healing, growth, or awareness. When we experience pain in a relationship, it is an opportunity to look deeply into the patterns of our hearts and minds, and recognize how these patterns may be contributing to our suffering. For example, recurring feelings of jealousy in relationships may point to underlying insecurities or unmet needs within ourselves. By examining these emotions through the lens of karmic lessons, we can begin to address the root causes of our suffering rather than simply reacting to its symptoms. The path of self-discovery. Uncovering hidden patterns. The journey from pain to wisdom begins with self-discovery. This requires a willingness to look within and explore the depths of our emotional landscape with honesty and compassion. It's about asking difficult questions and sitting with discomfort as we uncover layers of our psyche that may have been hidden from our awareness. One of the first steps in transforming pain into wisdom is to uncover the hidden patterns that underlie our suffering. These patterns may be rooted in past experiences, family dynamics, cultural conditioning, or karmic imprints. By bringing these patterns into conscious awareness, we begin to understand their impact on our present lives and relationships. Understanding the root of pain. Exploring our patterns. When we begin to explore how our emotional patterns influence our perceptions, emotions, and behaviors, we gain deeper insights into our subconscious drives. Take, for example, someone who consistently attracts partners who are emotionally unavailable. This pattern may have its roots in childhood experiences, where emotional needs weren't adequately met. As a result, the person may unconsciously recreate these painful dynamics. By recognizing these patterns, the individual can begin to explore their origins and take steps toward healing the root wound. The role of mindfulness in self-discovery. Mindfulness is the foundation of self-discovery in Buddhist practice. It involves paying attention to our present moment experience with non-judgmental awareness. When we practice mindfulness, we create space between our emotions and our reactions. This allows us to observe our pain without being consumed by it. Consider incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine by setting aside time for meditation or mindful movement practices such as yoga or Tai Chi. During these practices, focus on your breath and bodily sensations, gently bringing your attention back to the present moment whenever your mind wanders. Over time, this practice can help you develop emotional resilience and clarity, allowing you to respond to life with greater awareness. Journaling for insight, uncovering patterns. Journaling is another powerful tool for self-discovery. It provides a space to externalize your thoughts and emotions, making them easier to observe and analyze. When working with pain, journaling can help you track emotional patterns, identify triggers, and gain insights into the underlying causes of your suffering. Consider using guided journaling prompts such as, "What emotions am I experiencing in relation to this pain? When have I felt this emotion before? What beliefs or thoughts are associated with this pain? What lesson might this pain be trying to teach me?" These prompts can guide you toward understanding the deeper messages embedded in your emotional experiences, seeking guidance, finding support on the path. Self-discovery is often supported by seeking guidance from teachers, mentors, or therapeutic professionals. A skilled guide can help you navigate the complexities of your inner world and offer perspectives you may not see on your own. Consider connecting with a Buddhist teacher, therapist, or counselor who resonates with your journey and can provide the support and guidance you need. Integration and healing. Releasing old patterns. Once we have uncovered the lessons within our pain, the next step is to integrate these insights into our lives and allow them to foster healing and growth. This process involves both releasing old patterns and cultivating new ways of being. Releasing the old. Releasing old patterns of suffering is not about suppressing or denying them. Rather, it's about consciously choosing to let them go. This can be a gradual process that involves both mental and emotional release. Rituals can be helpful in symbolizing this release. For example, you might write down the patterns or beliefs you wish to release on a piece of paper and then burn it in a ceremonial fire, visualizing the release of these patterns from your being. Alternatively, you could create a ritual of forgiveness by offering apologies to yourself or others, for any ways you may have contributed to your suffering. Cultivating the new. As you release old patterns, it's important to cultivate new ways of being that align with your insights and support your growth. This might involve developing new habits, adopting new perspectives, or creating new relational dynamics. For example, if you've discovered that your pain stems from a pattern of people-pleasing, you can begin to cultivate self-compassion and healthy boundaries. Practice saying no when necessary, and engage in activities that nourish your soul and honor your authentic self. Embodied wisdom. Living the transformation. The transformation of pain into wisdom is not complete until it is embodied in your daily life. Wisdom is not just intellectual understanding. It's a way of being in the world that reflects deeper awareness and compassion. When you encounter similar situations in the future, notice how your new understanding influences your responses. Instead of reacting automatically, you may find yourself responding with greater awareness, patience, and wisdom. The ripple effect of transformation. The wisdom gained from transforming pain doesn't stay confined within you. It ripples out into the world around you. As you heal and grow, you become a source of inspiration and support for others who are navigating their own struggles. Your journey of transformation offers hope and guidance to those who are still entangled in the suffering you've worked to release. Consider sharing your story with others who might benefit from your insights. This could be through conversations with friends, participation in support groups, or even creative expression like writing or art. By offering your wisdom to others, you not only support their growth but also deepen your own understanding and commitment to the path of transformation. The continuous journey. From pain to wisdom. Transforming pain into wisdom is not a one-time achievement. It's a continuous journey. Life will inevitably bring new challenges and opportunities for growth. The lessons learned from past pain become the foundation upon which you build resilience and wisdom for future experiences. Embrace the understanding that this journey is lifelong, and that each moment of suffering is an invitation to deepen your practice of awareness and compassion. With each cycle of pain and transformation, you move closer to a place of inner freedom and peace, where you can navigate life's complexities with grace and wisdom. Conclusion: embracing the journey of the heart. The path of transforming pain into wisdom is profound and rewarding. It invites us to embrace our suffering not as an enemy, but as a teacher guiding us toward greater self-awareness, healing, and compassion. Through the practices of mindfulness, self-discovery, and integration, we can transmute even the most painful experiences into sources of wisdom and growth. By embracing the journey of the heart, we create space for transformation, understanding, and liberation. This is the essence of the Buddhist teachings on emotional healing, transforming suffering into opportunities for growth and moving forward with clarity, compassion, and freedom. A journey. Through the human heart, we've traveled through the complex landscape of the human heart, exploring the nature of lingering feelings, the illusions of love, the echoes of the past, and the transformative power of non-attachment and letting go. Each step of this journey has revealed profound insights into how our emotions shape our experience of life. More importantly, we've learned that through mindful awareness and compassionate practice, we can transform suffering into wisdom and freedom. The meaning behind our feelings. These teachings remind us that our feelings are not random occurrences, but meaningful signals guiding us toward deeper self-understanding. Lingering emotions for someone are not just signs of unfulfilled love, but invitations to explore the depths of our hearts. They encourage us to recognize patterns of attachment and uncover the lessons hidden within these connections. Through this exploration, we come to realize that true freedom doesn't lie in erasing the past, but in understanding it, integrating it, and releasing our attachment to it. We can acknowledge the beauty and pain of human connection while navigating these experiences with grace and resilience. A path of continuous growth, the path outlined in these teachings, is one of continuous growth and transformation. By embracing impermanence, practicing non-attachment, and cultivating self-compassion, we create space for new possibilities and deeper fulfillment in our lives. This journey is not about achieving perfection, but about learning to embrace each moment with openness. It's about recognizing that the process of growth, healing, and release is ongoing. As we walk this path, we discover that emotional freedom comes from engaging with our emotions and relationships in a mindful way, allowing us to find peace and wisdom in every step. Living the teachings. As we conclude this journey, remember that these teachings are not meant to be understood merely on an intellectual level, but to be lived and experienced. They invite us to engage with our emotions, relationships, and inner world in ways that foster greater awareness, compassion, and freedom. May these teachings serve as a lantern on your path, illuminating the way toward healing and transformation. May you find the courage to embrace your emotions, the wisdom to learn from them, and the compassion to release what no longer serves you. And may your journey toward inner peace and liberation be filled with moments of clarity, connection, and profound self-discovery. Sharing the wisdom. If these teachings have resonated with you and touched your heart, consider sharing them with others who might also benefit. By sharing these insights, you contribute to a larger community of learners and healers, spreading understanding and compassion in the world. We invite you to subscribe to our channel and join a community of like-minded individuals committed to mindfulness, growth, and emotional healing. By subscribing, you'll receive regular updates, teachings, and practices to support you on your journey toward inner peace and liberation. Click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Together, we will continue exploring the rich teachings of Buddhism and discover more ways to foster emotional healing and spiritual growth. Gratitude for the journey. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the heart and mind. May your path be illuminated with wisdom, and may you walk it with compassion for yourself and all beings. We invite you to subscribe to Insightful Journey and join a community of like-minded individuals committed to mindfulness, growth, and emotional healing. Just as a candle cannot shine without fire, men cannot live without hope. Buddha. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Buddha. The mind is everything what you think you become. Buddha.